Okay, everybody knows we've been having real trouble finding good cherry wood. You know, even right now, this one here, it's a scavenged piece of wood. You know, it's the backside of what was the Peach Boy. What is the Peach Boy still in there? We've split the backside off, pasted it onto a new core, and using it. That's how desperate we are for key block wood.
Yeah.
We've been buying bits and bits of cherry wood, which we've talked about on stream and shown, but they've all turned out to be barely usable for collar blocks, soft wood. You know, we use two types of cherry. One that must be hard and dense for key blocks, and one that's softer. It's still cherry wood, but softer. Right. So here in Yahoo Auction, I've been bidding and winning some auctions on older blocks, and there's lots and lots of stuff out there. It's rare now to find blocks from, say, Meiji era or Taisho or Edo era, because those are sort of museum pieces and we don't want to muck them up. But all through the early part of the 20th century, there was still a ton of woodblock printmaking. And we got an auction a while ago for a bunch of fan prints. Those not uchiwa, what are they called? Sensu, the fans that open with the bones.
Yeah.
And in the box was a bunch of wood blocks. And some of them I'm going to keep because they're interesting. We've got the full set, the rough drawing for the fan, the preliminary carving, the finished carving, the finished fan, and the set of blocks.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'm going to muck that up. Those are going in the storeroom.
Yeah.
But there's also some blocks for really boring, not so interesting fans that can be reused. And this wood...
Solid.
It's a bell. It's a musical instrument. You could make xylophone bars out of this stuff or something. I don't know. It's nicely dried and toned and crisp. It's not super hard, but it's hard. And it's a little bit... Drop your tools, Dave. Why don't you? And it's nice. I've tried a little bit of it, and it's crispy. Here's our favorite sound. Crisp, crunch, 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 crunch. This wood is usable. And what it is, it's about almost 2 centimeters thick. It's got the stamp from the original block supplier.
Wow.
You can see that.
Call them out?
I called them out. They're dead since before I was born, whatever. And if you can see it, there's a rubber, not a rubber stamp, a stamp on there. And that would be the maker's name of the guy who supplied these blocks, so. And they're about 2 centimeters thick, and they're carved nicely, fairly shallowly on one side and 2 sides. I got 4 of them here. Oh. So what I'm thinking I want to do is this. I will get these over to a bandsaw, some local workshop here, whatever. Get a bandsaw and just split them in half, just like this, as it is. That will give me 2 flat faces and 2 carved faces.
Right.
And then we paste those 2 down as they are on a plywood core. And then, once it's now pasted down, we then put these things through a planer, take off this down to the level as deep as it's carved. And that will give me 2 fairly thin, they will be maybe 4 millimeters thick or so.
Yeah.
So I will have 2 flat faces. If I try and plane these first to make a full, clean, flat block and then try and split it, there's not enough thickness to play with on the bandsaw. So we're going to bandsaw it first, glue down that bandsawed face, and then plane it and dress it. And what I will do is, because this is quite hard, I won't put these both on the same side of the core.
Yeah.
I will use a softer wood from our own stock plus this hard one, so that we can use it when we're making a print set. We only need 1 hard face in any given print set for the key block. So these 4 pieces of wood here will give me 8 pieces, which I will paste down. And if we use them for something like our Legendary Loot series or next year's subscription series, that'll only be half this size. Yeah. So if this turns out, this will give me 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 of them. I'll get 16 key blocks from this little scavenged set of wood blocks, which cost me like, 7,000 yen or something. Now the downside is we were going to destroy old wood blocks for this. Yeah. But, like I said, I'm going to pick and choose here. The stuff that I think should be preserved, the one that has some meaning that we could tell a story about that would be interesting, I'll preserve those. But the rest of them are just boring stuff. It's worn out anyway. That would never be used again. And 16 wood blocks to come to life to make 16 new prints. I think that's a pretty good bargain for planing off something from the 1920s or 1930s. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll see how it goes. As a rough guide to how it turns out, as part of this same stuff, finding these prints in the auctions here, Also, by the way, I noticed somebody mentioning, I mumbled, we're buying prints on Yahoo auctions, and somebody says, Yahoo? Why don't you go to eBay and stuff? You know, Japan is different.
Japan is different.
eBay came here. When was it? About 10 or 15 years ago or something? I can't remember. eBay did come here. They opened up. We're going to take over auctions in Japan.
And it crashed.
They lasted, whatever, X months, and they got their ass
just went
kicked.
nowhere.
They got their ass kicked, and so they left. Well, actually, I heard they're coming back.
Really?
I read in a magazine or something called eBay is going to try again here in Japan.
Interesting.
I think they're going to try first with shops and gradually try and slide into doing it by auction. Anyway, Yahoo is the go-to for auctions here.
Yep.
Every night, whatever you're looking for in the world, every night there are Yahoo auctions that cover it. So I got an auction a while ago for an old scavenge block that had been burned in some kind of fire. And what it was text from some sutras, some Buddhist, yong gigi gong yong bing gong gong. And it was page 21 and 22 of some multi-volume, 99-volume block.
Yeah.
And again, some of the staff said, Dave, you shouldn't destroy this. You should preserve it. And it doesn't need preserving. Believe me, it's an old burned block from whatever, 1910 or 1890 or something. We're not talking about anything back to the Edo era.
Yeah.
And it was isolated from its set. So I ran it to our planer downstairs. It was too thin. This is too thin to bond onto something else. And I wanted to see just what kind of wood do we have here. So I ran it to the planer, bang, bang, ripped off all the text. And there's some interesting things that came up that were visible.
It sounds like it looks...
One is that you can see places where it's been repaired in little square chunks. And they must match up. Remember, this was all square kanji, all done in columns.
Yeah.
So the guy must have, in some places, he carved the wrong kanji or chipped
Missed
it too badly or something, or missed a stroke or something. And he must have dug his chisel in, carved out a square hole, slammed in a new piece of wood and recarved it. And there's a lot of them. There's 1, 2, 3 on this side. And on the other, there's 1, 2. So in the course of carving these 2 book pages, the guy made 5 major errors.
I make more than 5 major errors handwriting my address.
Okay. I'm not dissing it, but whatever. There's the story. And I don't want to keep planing. I don't know how far down these things go. We're going to lose all the usable thickness on this thing. The other thing is, when you look at it, you can see what's happening here. There's a red, dark place and a white place. And I've been posting and talking about the woodblock usage all the time, and we never, quote, never, can I underline, never, we never use the white part on the outside of the wood because it's just too soft and doesn't hold up. And yet, here's this block from easily 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, where when they bought it, there's the hardwood and the soft one. He bought it and he carved text right from the white through the red back into the white. This was carved end to end. Didn't care.
So it was a smaller tree then.
It was a smaller tree and a smaller usable part. In ideal circumstances, we would ignore this white and just use the red core, but they didn't. Back in an era when this wood was cheap and plentifully available. And it's interesting. Maybe this book was such a cheap production, they bought a B grade or C grade wood. You know, I don't know what it was. Or this was a homemade production, maybe. This could be just some temple doing this by themselves, just getting a piece of wood and hacking away at it without really knowing what you're supposed to be doing.
Although he did a good job with the repairs, it looks like. So.
Yeah, and the text too, but before I destroyed it was okay. It was just normally carved. You know? It was just it was the square, clunky type of Buddhist sutra type. And the third interesting thing about this is you can see this wasn't visible on the top, that the thing had been worm-eaten. When you looked at the top surface, we just saw text, carved text and lower text. As soon as I took it off, zoom, we got to the inside of the wood. And this wood has been worm-eaten inside. It wasn't visible from the top surface. There must have been a hole somewhere. In fact, there are. You can see there are little tiny holes in the black part where the bugs had gone in. But look at this net, right? It looks like a series of ant tunnels. This is where some termite or bug or whatever, I don't even know what it would have been, had gone inside at one point and without resurfacing to be visible, had gone in. And look what he's done. He or the group of them have stayed in the white area. They haven't. It's either soft or there's an oil or a rosin or something. I have no idea what the reason for this is.
We got to talk to the bugs.
Talk to the bugs, and they have stayed inside the white area. When you flip it over the same thing on the back, it's clear. This is not random. They have stayed inside that white area. So they've gone through a heavy, thick layer of sumi, you know, the ink and stuff.
Yeah.
What's this? I got inside and said, oh, I'm in heaven under here, and stayed inside and networked this thing inside without resurfacing, because you couldn't see this from the front side. So this is kind of cool, you know. We get to my own block one day. This is Dave's, you know, simplified reproduction. They're going to be covered with black ink, and you know, and is this going to get mined inside by some?
Yeah. Only the core. Yeah.
Well, of course, this is plywood. That's right. It won't be done. So. But then the other part about this, I've tested this as far as hardness goes, and it's not all that hard. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because they carve text on this, which we would normally use a hard block for. Right. But it's not all that hard. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to make use of this or not. I'm much more...
Do you have a long, skinny piece? You could chop off the white? Or...
Yeah, well, if it turned out useful, we could use whatever, just use that part of it. Yeah. So, I mean, at the moment, we're so desperate for wood, anything is game. Yeah. You know, I need a label for the next book we print, whatever. Maybe we'll use that, you know. I'm much more hopeful about this one. Yeah. I mean, it's a piece of wood that sings.
Rings, yeah.
It actually sings, you know. My God.
That's awesome.
Anybody out there with perfect pitch? What's the note? That's a measurable tone. It actually sings, this piece of wood. Yeah. So stand by. We'll be using this wood at some point in the future. Anyway, now, more practical. I mentioned this. This came to us yesterday. This is perhaps not going to be so useful for me, but there is a real possibility this may be useful for some of the people out there, our Twitch viewers, who are making prints by themselves. What it is we did a print party yesterday. I've forgotten the gentleman's name. Actually, I didn't know it. He just registered for a print party, came and did the party yesterday. I wasn't the host for it. I was just in and out of the room. Yeah. And he grabbed me at one point, and it turns out that he's been making woodblock prints. He's a member of a group in Croatia that is making woodblock prints. He himself works for a furniture-making factory. They're making furniture out of different kinds of wood, including cherry. Huh. He is also, you know, an amateur printmaker making woodblock prints using cherry. So his two jobs have combined, and he has been supplying cherry blocks to the members of his printmaking group in Croatia. And he didn't bring any prints with him. He showed me a thing on his iPhone, a picture he had of he'd made a woodblock print about 2 feet long and 6 inches high. Wow. And the group had some sort of themed exhibition. So everybody had to make a woodblock print 2 feet long and 6 inches high. Huh. I think he called it the long line or something was the theme of the exhibition. Okay. And he supplied cherry blocks for these guys to do this. And he cut it in half to bring it. This was actually, it's one piece of wood here. And he's been using his furniture factory facilities to produce wood blocks with a lumber core with cherry on the front. And the ones he's brought me, I first thought they were varnished because they're all shiny. I don't know if you can see what's going on. Yeah. It looks like a glossy surface. But he said, no, it's just protection. I guess I should maybe try and take this off. I've never done this before. He said it's a protective layer of something stuck on the top. So let me see if I can get this off here. Can I zoom in a bit? Yeah, here we are. It's a film of some kind, which is just to protect the blocks in transit and whatever. Yeah. It really
keep it from getting scratched up.
Yeah, so whatever. So, and here it comes. Look at this. This is a film. It's actually pulling off wood grain. Okay. Anyway, so here we are. Well, I've zoomed in a bit too far. Sorry, guys. My video production skills here. So there's the film coming off. It's just a yeah. And now we have the cherry wood surface. And when he showed them to me yesterday, he's asking me, Dave, can you use this? Can you use this? And although I wanted to be enthusiastic to him, and I was enthusiastic to him, the things that he showed me yesterday, the 2 samples he gave me, have a couple of problems that make it difficult for me. One is that what they've done is, and maybe you can see it here, see there's a line on the video here. There's a line, there's a light area and a dark area. And this is 2 separate pieces of cherry. Oh. This is not the same piece of wood. He's taken smaller pieces, laminated them together. And all of the things he brought me have the same thing. There's a seam. Yeah. They're made up of smaller pieces put together.
Side by side.
Yeah, the way they do making furniture, you know, because you can't get such big trees and stuff anymore. Right. And that's a real negative for us. because the two sides are going to absorb water in some slightly different way. The grain is looking a different way. Yeah. And if you have some color area that will cross over this thing, when you print it, almost certainly the top and bottom will have some different tone.
Yeah.
You might get lucky and it might not, but probably my experience, and I tried this myself.
Yeah.
My experience is, no, you're not there. So.
Yeah.
The other thing is the way that they have cut the planks for preparing these blocks is usable for furniture makers. We've talked about this before. When you've got your round tree, I don't know if I could try drawing this or not. We've done this many, many times.
People, in answer to your previous question, it's an F. It rings at an F.
Our next woodblock print is tuned to the key of F. Great, good. So as far as cutting the cherry for our use, you've got your tree. These days they do what's called quarter sawing. They get the planks like this because they want planks that have straight grain. They don't warp so easily, and they make a nice pattern for furniture. So all the planks he's done here are cut with straight grain, which means we tend to get these stripes in the finished wood. And for us, we don't want to cut it this way. We want to cut it on the plank like this, so our finished wood has that circular grain pattern like this. It tends to warp a little bit too much sometimes, but it comes up with nice, beautiful patterns, or a non-pattern in the finished wood. So it's two sort of a little bit minuses for me, but I didn't shoot him down. This is great. Wow, somebody is trying to make cherry blocks for wood carvers. So let's go. So I passed on my feedback to him about that. From my point of view, these things are a little bit critical. But I also mentioned that out there's a lot of people. Do I hear Acolyte page, Twitch stream, where people who are trying to make woodblock prints by themselves who have no access to cherry wood. So I asked him, are you going to do business? Are you going to make these things available? Are you going to sell these things? Yeah. He said, well, we're not tooled up for that yet, but yeah, if people are interested, ask them to write to me.
So I said, what should people say when you write to them? Just...
Oh, it's me. Is it Slovenia? Is it Croatia? I've read the wrong country, maybe.
Yeah, that could
Slovenia, that's what.
Okay, but just write to him and say, you heard from David Bull that he's making cherry planks, and you want to talk to him. So.
The dressing, it seems smooth. It's not mirror-like at all. It's not sort of dressed. I think what I might do, now that I think about it, it's too late to do this today, but maybe tomorrow what I should do is we should maybe do an instant printing. If I cut a pattern in just one of these blocks, just get a piece of paper, try printing it, see what comes up.
Yeah, one go.
So, I don't mean to do a print start to finish on one stream. I don't want to start a whole thing all like that. But maybe tonight, if I get a bit of time or something, cut a piece of pattern on one of these and just try printing one to see what comes up, because it looks okay. I think it's pretty soft.
I'm just going to dig in right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a dig at one of these here and see. So. It's soft. It's color block soft, There's no suit with key blocks, but we knew that. It's color block soft. And it's nicely prepared. So it is. Let's see.